I'm going to talk about breastfeeding while breastfeeding. So first, let me offer up a little bit better view of what breastfeeding looks like. He is just latched on. My breastfeeding journey has been fairly easy compared to stories that I've heard of other people. Like, I know some other people mention that they have a hard time getting the baby to latch. That has never been a problem for me. If anything, when I first started breastfeeding after Josie was born, she would latch very strongly and my nipples were very sensitive. So for me, I feel like I had the opposite problem that most people have. Like, I just felt a very strong urge to pull her away whenever she would try to latch on, just because whenever she latched on really strongly, it hurt. Because again, my nipples were very sensitive. So the first couple of days, that was my biggest struggle. And also, even though I took a breastfeeding class, I took like quite a bit of like preparation classes. So it was just a lot of information. So it was really difficult to just remember everything all at once, especially immediately after giving birth. Like, there's just so much hormones going on. There's just a lot of exhaustion. But anyways, I say that to say the first couple of days, I didn't use nipple cream, which was a big mistake. Like, it just made my nipples get more sore, and they started to get, I want to say chapped. I feel like there's probably a better word, but they were just getting like dry, and it would make it hurt even more when she would try to latch on super strong. So a huge recommendation that I have for breastfeeding is, especially that first week, use a lot of nipple cream. And it'll be a lot easier if you use the kind that's safe for babies to eat. So like that, you don't have to worry about wiping your nipples, which might seem like a simple thing because it is, but when your nipples are that sore to begin with, you're going to want to touch it the least amount possible. There are also gel pads that you can get, nipple gel pads, but after you put those on, you have to wipe your nipples. But yeah, with breastfeeding, I will say if you can make it past that first week, then it does get a lot easier. But that first week is really hard, and that was definitely my experience. Actually, I'll say it was about day 5 where I could start just getting her to latch on super easy, or putting her to latch on, and I noticed that I wasn't like having that knee-jerk reaction anymore because my nipples toughened up. I don't know why I put that in quotes. Again, I'm sure there's probably a better way to say that, but the doctor used that terminology, so it's at least a little bit official. But when getting your baby to latch, like I have her right now, when you're first starting out, you might have to guide them, and it's better to do a motion like this because of how she's laying. Like, her mouth is turned this way, so you think of it like the lactation consultant said, like eating a hamburger, so you're holding it this way. But if you do it like this, then it's gonna go against her mouth. I hope this doesn't just look weird. I hope that makes sense, the demonstration that I just did. If not, sorry I made you watch that. But now I don't have to guide her at all. Like, I can just pick her up and put her close to the nipple, and she latches on by herself. Another very important thing to take note of is it takes a couple days after birth for your milk to drop. Before then, I forget the word for it, but it's just a little bit that comes out that has the nutrients for your baby. But then when your milk drops, that's an experience. So for me, I just felt slowly throughout the day that my boobs were like slowly getting filled. Like, I pictured 2 water balloons just like slowly being filled with water. And I just noticed them getting bigger and bigger. And then it just got to a point where they started to feel like they were going to be like rock hard. Like, it just really hurt. And when that's happening, it turns out when your milk drops, your breasts get engorged. Like, there's just no way around it. And during that time, you really have to watch that your breasts, they don't feel like rocks. Like, if it's starting to get really hard, I would suggest pumping. That's what I ended up doing, because I would try to feed Josie, but my boobs just had so much milk that she was eating less than what I was providing. Like I was making more milk than she needed, basically. And I'm probably saying it wrong. My aesthetic, I'll put the word on the screen, but you want to avoid that. My friend had that with both of her pregnancies, and she said it's incredibly painful. Meiosis is when your milk ducts get clogged, and it is very painful. I'm not exactly sure what ends up happening, but I know it makes it very painful. And to get that, especially the first week of breastfeeding, I feel could really discourage you from breastfeeding, and it might make you stop doing that altogether. Because at least for me, that first week without that, I luckily didn't get it at all. It was painful, but it was because my nipples just were very sensitive. And again, had I used nipple cream or the gel pads from day one, I don't think I would have experienced as much discomfort that I had. So if you do that from day one, it might still be uncomfortable, but it will definitely make the discomfort more manageable. But back to meiosis, or however it's pronounced, a good way to avoid having that is when your milk drops, just realize that there's a good chance you're going to be producing a lot more milk than what your baby needs, because your body has to figure out how much milk to produce for your baby. So I decided to pump, just so like that I could like alleviate that heaviness in my boob. After I pumped, my boobs just felt a lot more comfortable. And also that's the way to keep up your milk supply if you're worried that you might not make enough. But also those first couple of weeks, your body's trying to figure out exactly how much milk to make for your baby. So if you want to have a greater supply of milk, it's suggested to pump during that time, just to keep the milk supply up. So personally, I have only pumped about a handful of times. I pumped twice after my milk drop, again, just to alleviate that full feeling, and to avoid my boobs from getting too engorged, because I really did not want, one last time, my meiosis. Sorry about that. But along with that, I've also pumped a couple times when I just wanted to enjoy a drink. I made sure to have more than enough milk ahead of time. Luckily, when I pump, a good amount comes out. So if I pump twice, then that's a good amount for me to last her at least 3 to 4 feedings. But that's just because a lot comes out when I pump. But just to be sure, I definitely, like, if I want to have a full day where I could just bottle feed her, I make sure to pump like for 2 or 3 days straight, because the milk lasts for 3 days in the refrigerator. So I definitely like to over prepare, just so like that's not something I have to think about. I tried giving her breast milk straight from the refrigerator just because I thought, I don't know, maybe she would like it. She didn't. I had to warm it up, but I have a bottle warmer, so that was pretty easy. I just wanted to see if she wouldn't mind if the milk was cold, but she definitely did. But I know it's just a very painful experience. So with all that said, I have to be honest, that first week, I had my own doubts on whether I would be able to continue breastfeeding, just because it was really painful for me, if I'm being honest. Like it just was. But I knew how important it was for me to breastfeed, and I've heard many times, like I have said in this video, that first week is the hardest. Just get through that first week. For some people it's 2 weeks, but if you can just get through that, it really does get a lot easier. But also I would like to mention that I have the privilege of staying home with Josie. So I know for working mothers it's definitely more challenging, but a big thing that I noticed helped me feel more comfortable breastfeeding and feel more confident with persisting with breastfeeding was support. Like, I didn't understand breastfeeding groups, like support groups. I was just like, you just sit and breastfeed in front of strangers. No, it's more than that. It's feeling a connection or a sense of community that really helps. It's more of having that support system to keep you encouraged to keep going, rather than the fact that you're being taught to breastfeed. I mean, that's definitely a huge component of it, to have a lactation consultant watch you breastfeed and give you real-time advice on what to do rather than just watching tutorials. Like, it's different to have someone coaching you while actually doing it rather than trying to repeat what you're seeing on video. And I know, having a newborn definitely causes a lot of exhaustion. I feel like I used that word a couple times already, but it does. And especially if you're working, I can definitely understand why someone would want to not go to a breastfeeding group, like why they would just want to go home and relax. But I promise you, at least try one. Like, just try going once. And if it's not for you, then it's not for you. And at least you tried once. I know there are places that definitely still have Zoom versions of that because of COVID. I wonder if they'll still keep having like video calls as an option. But going in person definitely makes it a little bit better, just because they can see more clearly what you're doing and they can like guide your arms. So that would be like a little bit more feedback that they can give you. There are many positions that you can breastfeed your baby in. I normally just do this just because it's more comfortable for me and it's easiest for me. But you can look up a lot of different positions. Like, there's a football hold where it's like this. I tried that once, but I don't really like it as much. Again, I just find this one to be easier. Oh, another thing that I want to mention is I'm using a normal pillow right now that I have her set up on, that you can see. Like, right now I'm sitting cross legs, like crisscross applesauce. I hope that makes sense. And then I have the pillow set up on top, and that's the perfect height for her. But I also got a U-shaped breastfeeding pillow. I've personally noticed that with the U-shaped pillows that there's still a gap, like the pillow isn't high enough. So I rolled up a towel like this, and I haven't done this yet, honestly, only because I've been too lazy to get up and get a towel when I remember. But I've been told that if you use a towel like this, you can put it under the pillow or over the pillow, whichever you're more comfortable with, and it'll put your baby at a more ideal height than just using the U-shaped pillow alone. So that's what my experience with breastfeeding has been. If you have any questions on breastfeeding, please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you would like to further support my content, please go to patreon.com/yourfriendjanellis to become a member of my Patreon. As you may know, Patreon is a way for fans to support the content that they love on a monthly basis. Members of my Patreon enjoy the exclusive benefits of a chat community, live streams, and guaranteed access to me via direct messaging. By supporting my Patreon, you're allowing me to dedicate the time and effort necessary to create, edit, and upload new videos on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for your support, and I appreciate you all.